Okay, so we were just privileged to have the Heart Shrine Relic Tour here. In Spokane. It was there for 3 days. The Abbey sponsored it, and then they brought the relics up here for a couple of days, which is also a great gift. Now, somebody came to see me after the Relic Tour and said, you know, I went to the Relic Tour, and it was really interesting looking at all these relics from the different masters and the Buddha, and I didn't realize there were so many, you know, great masters, and I found all that very interesting. But to be frank, I didn't really feel anything looking at them. You know, they were interesting, but I didn't feel anything. So is something wrong? Am I, you know, people kind of intimated that maybe I was closed or unreceptive, or, you know, because the way they introduce the relics, you know, they introduce it with all these stories of, you know, people feeling these great surges of energy and being healed and so forth, and none of that happened to me. So the person came to me and kind of, I elaborated on the question. They put it much more simply, but this was what they were asking. And they also said, you know, or maybe am I looking, expecting there to be a burning bush and some kind of, you know, the sea dividing, and then you know, that's what will give me faith. And the person said, but actually I really enjoy reading Dharma books, and yeah, I just have a hard time relating to this stuff that everybody's talking about and so excited about it. So I sympathized with that person because I too also find that sometimes there's this big hooplah made out of external substances, and you know, these stories of people you know, bursting into tears when they see the relics or healing or having this kind of things. And I always do feel like, well, something wrong with me? You know, this doesn't happen to me. Any of you have that feeling? A couple of you? More than a couple. Yeah, and so, you know, I think we have to realize that different people resonate with different aspects of the Dharma. Some people are much more faith-based and devotion-based. Other people are much more understanding and investigation-based, okay? And actually, you know, in the scriptures, when they talk about sharp faculty disciples and modest faculty disciples, it's discriminated by whether somebody, well, it's discriminated in a few ways. One way is if they have an intellectual understanding of emptiness before they generate bodhicitta, or if they have, that's a sharp faculty, or if they have bodhicitta before, realize bodhicitta before having an inferential understanding of emptiness. That's called a modest faculty. But another way to differentiate them, which is similar but not exactly the same, is, you know, people who what really inspires them in the Dharma is the study, the investigation, the analysis, and developing understanding. And then other people who really have faith, and if, you know, if Maitreya Buddha said this, then I believe it. If the Buddha said it, Sakyamuni Buddha said it, I believe it. And they have much more faith and are much more in tune with these kind of external things that seem more mystical or mysterious. So I think we have to realize that there are people with different kind of dispositions, people with different kinds of interests, and that we shouldn't compare ourselves to other people. And what works for one person does not work for another person. Okay, so some people will really get their inspiration for practice from these devotional things and the relics and so forth. Other people, the relics don't make them experience anything mysterious, but the relics make them think of these past great masters and their qualities, and it reminds them of the text these masters wrote and what was contained in the text, and they begin to think about what the text said, you know? So people have different ways of approaching things like this, and it's very important to really recognize this, and like I said, not compare ourselves to other people. Okay? And so if you didn't feel any big pizzazz when the relics were there, that's perfectly all right. Yeah? And, you know, if you much prefer to really sit and read and think about the meaning of something and do analytical meditation, that's fantastic. You know, that suits you. If you're somebody who just felt so inspired, you know, by the relics and, you know, like this, that's fine, that works for you. If you're somebody who just has a lot of devotion and likes that kind of practice, and that works for you. So we have to really, you know, recognize that people are quite different. Okay? Now, what do you say
about
that?
About that?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like there's so many different things there that, you know, the more, for me personally, the more I know about who these masters were, the more profoundly touched I was. Like still, with Ananda's, I feel a strong connection and appreciation for Ananda, and those were the relics beside Shakyamuni's that I'm most related to. But is it because I have that appreciation for Ananda already? I'm quite sure. So, you know, what's in our own minds, I don't know. I think having the external object, especially something as kind of rare and precious as a Buddha relic, can trigger the things that are in our own minds already. And for sure, those people who were weeping when they experienced the relics had something that was very powerful for them. But as you say, I don't think everybody, I mean, there were so many different parts of that whole thing that there was no one thing that was going to twig anybody. And some people would walk away and go, what was that all about? Who cares? But the experiences are so varied, and the number of people that were attracted to come check it out. I don't know of anything else that Sravasti Abbey could do right now today in downtown Spokane that would bring 700 or 800 people. So those are all my thoughts on it.
Anybody else have anything? Or maybe we should talk about it after we eat. Okay.